Let's set the scene for a second. You are Jesus' disciples. He is dead. He was crucified. For fear of your lives, you lock yourselves into a room, hoping that you can figure out, what the heck do we do now? The person that has led you for the last 3 years isn't there to tell you what to do. You're scared. You're fearful. And you're looking for a leader. And then, all of a sudden, you look up. And there is Jesus standing among you. Imagine the shock and awe on each of your faces. Because after all, except for a few miracles that you have experienced previously, you know that the dead stay dead. And you know that Jesus was dead. And Jesus' first words are, "Peace be with you." Jesus understood that by standing among you, he needed to calm you down. And so he offered his peace. And then he proceeded to take away your doubt by showing you his hands and letting you see that it really is Jesus. And then, not to be outdone by all of that, he looks at you and says, "Okay, that's over. It's time to start work. It's time to forgive the sins of people, to bring them peace and offer them forgiveness." Well, apparently much didn't happen right after that, because a week later they're still in the room, and Thomas is now with them. Now, we don't know where Thomas was the last time, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he was out working, trying to earn money to buy food to feed everybody. And he comes back, and they tell him the Messiah was here. And he doesn't believe them. Poor guy. They didn't believe it was Jesus either until Jesus showed them his wounds. But Thomas has been singled out for that purpose, because it's easier to single one person out for us to use as an example. How many people here have ever been told a story by a friend that you said, there is no way that is possibly true? You might have even gone so far as said, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, that's the doubting Thomas in each of us. Because Thomas was just like everybody else. He's a realist. He didn't understand Jesus' message while he was alive. So now, Jesus shows up again and says, Thomas, let me prove you who I am. And Thomas believes. In the children's book, Polar Express, there is a line that says, "Seeing is believing." But sometimes the most real things in the world are the things we cannot see. That, to me, captures what our faith is calling us to do with a resurrected Christ. We are called to believe in the resurrected Christ, in an entity that we cannot see, but have faith to believe. We are not the lucky 12 in the upper room that Jesus appeared to that day. But that doesn't make Jesus and the resurrection any less real for us. And since our faith has us believe about a resurrected Christ, we then are called to do the same things that his early disciples were called to do. To offer peace and forgiveness in the world. That is our mission. Jesus, in this story, is not just telling them. He's telling you to do it. And Jesus knows that most of us will be like those early disciples, trembling, fearful. And so Jesus, gives something else to us. He gives us the Spirit. He gives us the Spirit and the power through that Spirit for us to go out into the world and do. And it is with that power and our faith that we must do. Martin Luther King Jr. once stated, "Faith is like taking the first step, even when you don't see the staircase. It's knowing that maybe there's something there, but not maybe. It's knowing that something is there because our faith tells us so." So we have been given the first step in the risen Christ. Rather than hiding ourselves in a locked room in fear, we have to step out into the world in faith, believing in the risen Christ. A Christ we physically can't see, yet we feel. And once we do that, we must offer the peace of the risen Christ, loving ourselves and one another, forgiving as we have been forgiven, and sharing the good news with everyone we meet. That was the job given to the early disciples. And it is the job that we are once again given today. So now is the time. Now is the place. Go and make those that have not seen believe. Amen.